Welcome to Middleham. We're kicking off our flat series stable tours with a visit to the Johnston racing team. Charlie Johnston in charge these days. Now these men have a knack of training winners, over 100 for the last 30 years every season. So let's go and find out more from Charlie about how he's finding life with the sole licence now and where another 100 and so winners are coming from this season.
We're on third lot at the moment. So we have 4 lots through the morning. Start at 6:15, do 1 lot, have breakfast and then come back for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. So this is third lot just out here now.
And you're always down here, or do you use the public help as well?
Yeah, we haven't, so actually we'll just, as we come up here, you'll be able to so the rails up there on the horizon, that is that's Middleham public gallops, where Carl, Ed, all the other trainers in Middleham are based, and we were up there until 2009, and we bought Kingsley Park at that point, which at the time was a dairy farm, and we've spent the last sort of 16 years or 20 years nearly probably transforming into what it is now. Probably about 60% of the horses live up here, 40% of the horses are still in the what were the 2 original yards down in the village, but everything trains up here. So the horses in the village still come up here. We don't, I say we haven't used the public gallop since 2009.
And does each yard still have its own manager and the prize pool that you do and stuff? Incentives?
There are 5 yard managers, 2 2-year-old yard managers and 3 older horse yard managers, and the yards are generally split by age and sex. So you'd either look after 2-year-olds or 3-year-old fillies or 3-year-old colts and geldings. So this is a string of 2-year-olds. Bit of a mix of colts and fillies.
Need to watch out your way there if you want to view.
Right.
I noticed that since you took the licence on yourself that you've got a good record with 2-year-olds, but specifically on the all-weather. Something like a 17% strike rate. Is that a targeted thing, or is that just how it's happened?
No. And if anything, I guess that's one of those stats that's, you'd rather it was 17% on turf, because that's where the races that matter most generally are. But I don't know whether that's, maybe a little bit a factor of that we do the majority of our training on the all-weather, but we do have plenty grass gallops here that we can use. All right, Archie, 6 please. Both galloped about a month ago and then have had little hold-ups, so just see how we go. So these are a couple of 3-year-old fillies that haven't run yet this year. Just galloping now to see if either of them's ready to start making some entries. The filly on the left, Sweet Frances, is a homebred of Kirsten Rousing's that had 1 run as a 2-year-old and 1 at Newcastle. So she's just coming back into action now. So, hello. Yeah, I've got visitors this lot, so tomorrow morning's quieter. I'll try and catch him then. Okay, thanks, Bots.
How are your 2-year-olds looking? Ancient Egypt is one that comes with a big price tag, I suppose.
He does indeed. Yeah, he does indeed. Yeah, it's quite novel for us to have a yearling of that price tag, and It's quite funny now. Every visitor that comes to the yard, we sort of, and here's our 1.1 million Franco. But I know it's fantastic that that Kia and his team have shown the faith in us to send us yearlings of that kind of calibre. Generally we do the majority of our purchasing on spec, and we're buying yearlings in the 5 to 100 bracket. So to have two that cost 550 and 1.1 is it's great. And my girlfriend Jenny, who just rode past us there, she has the pleasure of riding Ancient Egypt every day.
Right, yeah.
So
keeping a close eye on both.
Exactly. But no, he's coming along really well. He's a big, quite heavy topped horse. Was always going to need a bit of time. Generally, the family need time. Certainly won't see him over any less than 7. Maybe more one for the sort of second half of the year. But he has that bit of star quality. Stands out from the crowd. We've also got a nice Lope de Vega for them. Called Vincenzo Peruggia.
Yeah.
Do you know who Vincenzo Peruggia is?
No, but it sounds a nice name. Some Italian.
I can't say. I'm not going to try and pretend that I knew who he was when the name came through. But I did do my research, and he was a thief.
Right. Okay.
He stole the Mona Lisa.
Right.
From the Louvre. So.
He's nick a few bit of prize.
Exactly, yeah. He's got a good name. Let's hope he can gallop with it as well.
Yeah.
So we'll just wander this way a little bit. I'm just going to see this filly have a trot, who's been reported
Another
lame.
2-year-old I sort of picked out, Mr. Nippy. You and your dad trained the dam.
Yeah.
And he's from Cameco, obviously won the Guineas. So
yeah, he
lovely bred.
He actually has entries, and we'll just see her trot, please, Kirsty. He was in at Ripon tomorrow, and we haven't declared. He could go to Ayr on Monday. He's also in at Ponty next week. I would be lying if I said there wasn't a little bit of heart as well as head in his purchase, because obviously the mare was very special for us. I bought her for £3,000 in Fairy House as a yearling. She ended up winning the Oh So Sharp, the Musidora, ran in a Judmont. She was a phenomenal filly for her syndicate. So yeah, there was a little bit of heart ruling head when he came through the ring as a yearling. Hello, filly. Oh, pop it. Oh, filly. Stand. Okay, just stay here, please. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, he is a bit of a typical first foal. He's not the biggest. Hence Barbara and Alec have plumped for Mr. Nippy, and let's hope that's exactly what he is. Yeah, but could see him out on the track in the next couple of weeks. He's done plenty, and he's straightforward, just like his mother. He's straightforward, tough, and we'll get him out fairly soon.
Excellent. One of the 2-year-olds, an unnamed one, owned by Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed Al Maktoum, Bay Colt Blue Point by of Achnaha, is that how you say it? Achnaha,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Got entries in some good races like Redca's 2-year-old trophy and stuff already.
Yeah, he came from the December yearling sales, having been withdrawn from the Somerville. Paid quite a lot of money for him in the December sales. He is a huge big horse, got a lot of presence. Because of his size, we didn't press on with him too much early doors, but he's just started cantering now in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Nice horse. Blue Point's a stallion that's obviously made a very good start, and no, probably won't see him for another couple of months, but he's a nice horse.
Any other 2-year-olds there? I've got another one, St Mark's Basilica, out of Reckoning.
Yeah, that's obviously a family that means a huge amount to us subjectivists. Younger sister. We've had great success with the family of subjectivists. Sir Ron Priestley. With the 3-year-old Gayeth filly as well. Gaya for Susan Hearn, who bred them all. She was a little bit disappointing at Lingfield there on Wednesday night, but hopefully she shall break her maiden soon. But the 2-year-old by St Mark's, you know, everything from that family gets better with age. You know, okay. Subjectivist and Sir Ron, Subjectivist was a fairly decent 2-year-old, but both of them got better at 3 and then got better again at 4, and she's very much from the same mould as the rest of the family, sort of weak and backward, and will need time. You won't see her until the autumn, and it'll really be next year and beyond when she'll hopefully come into her own. But it's always nice when you've got those families that you have an association with. I think that's now at least 5 of the progeny out of that mare that we've had here. So it's good, and you sort of start to see similar traits that come through in them all. So no, she's a nice filly, but typically backward of that mare.
I used to have a horse here actually with the owners group when that early days Rainbow Rebel won the Old Newton Cup.
He did indeed, yeah.
Great horse.
He was a star. We've touchwood, we've been quite lucky for the owners group. He was a great favourite, and now they've got Dutch Decoy, who at the grand old age of 8 is still representing them well. And touchwood, he'll go to the Guineas meeting next weekend. He's got a few other entries, but
he looks quite well handicapped in now.
Yeah, he was second in the Suffolk handicap at the meeting last year off a higher mark, and in a way he had a disappointing campaign because he didn't win last year, but at the same time he was second in a 100 grand handicap at the Guineas meeting. He was second in the Golden Mile at Goodwood. He showed that there's the ability's still there even though he's getting on a bit in years, and he's just one of those horses that kind of needs everything to drop right for him in big field handicaps. He tends, he's a bit unusual for one of ours in that he tends to be held up and needs a strong pace to aim at and horses to be stopping in front of him. So when you have those sort of criteria and you're generally running in 25 runner handicaps, you need a lot to go right to win. But no, as you say, he's on an attractive mark, and he'll have a few entries for next weekend because there's a lot of racing, but probably the most likely target would be the Suffolk, and he needs quick ground, but touchwood, the forecast is favourable in that regard.
Let's go through a couple of them older horses while we're still waiting. Align the Stars, who I think you were quoted as Jason Hart said he thought he was a Gold Cup type of horse. Hasn't quite turned into that yet, and it was a bit disappointing at Musselburgh last weekend.
Yeah, he was. Obviously, he had a very progressive sort of middle of the summer last year, won 3 very good handicaps. We then started going down that kind of Gold Cup route, and the wheels came off a little bit, but felt like we'd got back on track at Nottingham, and then Musselburgh was just a race to put a line through. I'm just looking for you now here. So the filly in front here is Aris Aig.
Yeah.
Good filly that won at Glorious Goodwood last year, and she'll be in the sort of very good handicaps and into Pattern Company hopefully this year. And Dutch Decoy that we've just been talking about is in second there. And then from this next little group, another one that I'm sure is on your list that you'll be coming to soon, Dash Dizzy is in front of this string here.
Yeah.
He went to Musselburgh on Saturday for a racecourse gallop, and he will be going to the pavilion at Ascot next Wednesday.
He's got some good form, hasn't he?
Yeah, obviously only had 3 runs last year, and we very much threw him in at the deep end in the middle park, having just won a maiden.
Yeah.
But he was always a horse that we thought a lot of. He came with a fairly big price tag and a big pedigree, and he's going to be going down the sort of Commonwealth Cup route this year. And then in this string, a couple more that I'm sure are on your radar. Sort of in the middle of the string with the orange cap is Green Storm.
Yeah.
And then behind him with the yellow star on the cap is Lazy Griff.
Perfect. Both got English and Irish Derby entries.
Exactly, yeah. So Green Storm there with the orange cap, and just to the far side behind him, Lazy Griff. Obviously Green Storm has already run this year, ran in the field, and was a bit disappointing that day. He was too fresh, basically. There's no getting away from it. He might have got away with it if the rain hadn't come and the ground had been quick. But once the rain had got into the ground and it's gone soft, to be that keen and free on the front end, he was never going to get home. Was a bit disappointed in that, because he seemed very relaxed in his work at home building up to it. Joe had galloped him quite a few times, but just fresh, first run of the year. He jumped out, locked on, and Tom was a bit of a passenger for the first half of the race. So I'm sure he's better than what he showed there. I think it's looking like he'll probably go straight to the Derby now. Obviously for Ahmed Al Sheikh and Green Team, the Derby is always their priority every season, and
they've had some big price ones go close.
Yeah, they have. Yeah. Khalifa Sat, and I forget there was another one that finished second as well, at big prices. So so for him, getting as many horses there in as good a form as possible is the priority, and I think he'll be heading straight there. We haven't seen Lazy Griff yet. He could be going to the Chester Vase in a fortnight's time. Obviously he was a horse that we always thought plenty of. Probably the only mistake we made last year was getting a bit greedy and running him in the Chesham a week after his debut. But he continued to build from there. He was impressive, winning a Group 3 in France, and so these are the 2 gallopers that we just saw. We had planned for him to go back to the Grand Criterion with Green Storm, but frustratingly he went lame just before that, which is why he didn't run again after his Group 3 win. Okay.
He's in the Dante as well, is?
Yeah,
that won't be the plan.
Align the Stars is the one in second here, just about to come past you. I think the general thinking is that, based on what he did last year, he looked like he would want to go up to 1.5 miles as soon as possible. Yeah. That said, his early work this year has been good, has been impressive, and I wouldn't completely rule out him starting at 1.25 miles, but I think we're more leaning towards going straight up to 1.5 miles. He's by protectionist. I think stamina is going to be his strong suit in these kind of races. Obviously, sort of derbies nowadays, there's often a lot of horses in there that aren't bred to stay or won't stay a mile and a half or the test of the Derby truly, whereas this horse we know will stay every inch of it and more. So yeah, I think the plan A at the moment is for him to start at Chester in a couple of weeks, but we've been very pleased with how he's wintered.
How much do you like Chester as a track? I've always sort of, your horse would be front running and stuff, and you'd think Chester would be ideal there.
Yeah, I think we
doesn't always work out that way, obviously.
No,
it's a tight track,
it is a track where you need the rub of the green, but at the same time you also need to make your own luck. And obviously for the last half a dozen years, we've had the King of Chester firmly on our side in Franny Norton, so we haven't got him to call upon anymore. But no, it's a track. You've in this day and age, we're all very quick to complain about prize money, and if you look at those Derby trials that we've just been talking about, the money for them comparatively compared to the Lingfield trials, for example, the races at Chester are worth 2.5 times as much. Something like the D Stakes versus the listed race at Newmarket over the Guineas meeting, the Chester races are worth more than double. So when tracks prioritise prize money and put as much as they can into it, then we'll always support them as strongly as we can. So yeah, we don't get too bogged down in. I know a lot of people think you can only send certain types of horses to Chester. We tend not to overthink that too much if we can. Yes, you need to, as we said, you need the rub of the green a bit, and if you get a bad draw, over certain distances, you may as well stay at home. But no, that doesn't. The topography of the track doesn't scare us too much, and we're quite happy to run nice horses there, that's for sure. Yeah.
Just while you mentioned jockeys there, I noticed Callum Shepherd had a lot more rides for you so far this year. Is there a reason for that? Is that just a new partnership that you've struck up?
It's obviously we're in a bit of a changing time as such. As we said, Franny is now retired, and for all, Joe is still riding very well. He's just left to go to Sandown there for us this morning. He won't go on forever, and I've got to be thinking a bit in the medium to long term about having a pool of jockeys that we have a good relationship with going forward. And Callum was someone that caught the eye last year. He obviously had a very, very good season, albeit it was interrupted a bit by injury, and he just happened to had a couple of rides for us on the all-weather, and they went very well. And was sort of impressed by him. He's an intelligent guy, and he's got his commitments to George and to other southern-based trainers, but he's someone that we're just starting to form a bit more of a rapport with, and we'll see how that develops.
Excellent.
Okay. All right. No.
Oh, it's absolutely class, isn't it?
7. She was just laying behind, but never found anything.
Yeah, a couple of others.
So this is we call it the trotting ring. It has a few uses. We've got an owner here to see their horse. First and last lot, myself and the vet would come out here and see any horses with issues, or horses that ran 2 days ago, horses that galloped yesterday. Anything that's had any soundness queries, we'd see them trotting in here first lot on a morning, and then also in the winter when we break the yearlings in they do a lot of hacking around here initially when we're just getting them going.
And you're a trained vet as well, aren't you? So
I am, yeah.
Diagnose a lot of stuff first before, or at least have an opinion on.
Yeah, I think that's probably more pertinent. We, both me and Dad graduated from Glasgow. I can't say I do too much hands-on nowadays. For a while after I graduated, I used to geld them all myself. Not just some sort of weird satisfaction out of doing that. I'm not sure, but I've even given that up now. So no, I don't. We've got a full-time vet here as well, Fernanda. But it's nice to. I think I'm at an advantage there that when she does find problems and there are 2 or 3 different approaches to treating the issues, I'm in a position where I can understand what I'm being told, and I can have an informed opinion about how I think is best for us to progress, rather than just having to be told this is what's wrong and this is what you've got to do. So yeah, I think it's certainly I didn't go to vet school because I wanted to be a vet. I went to vet school because I thought it would be a USP when it came to doing this job.
Yeah. I suppose the nights out were probably all right as well with it.
Well, I am not going to profess to having been a model student by any stretch of the imagination. It was a 5-year degree and I took 7, so I guess that tells you all you need to know. It's a good city, Glasgow. It's got a bad reputation this side of the border. But no, Mum and Dad are from that neck of the woods, and for all I don't sound like it, I would somewhere that I would call a second home, really.
And you're more of a rugby man than a football man, aren't you? So you wouldn't have been too split.
I didn't have to make any allegiances while I was up there. In fact, you might not pick it up on the camera, but the other side of the valley, just below the tree line, that's my local rugby club, Wensleydale Rugby Club, and sadly this training malarkey is getting in the way a bit. I'm making fewer and fewer appearances every season for them, but no, that's the only real hobby I have. So it's good to get there in the winter, and gives you an opportunity to switch on from all, switch off from all this.
What, would you be a winger or something?
You're being very polite. No, back row, which is where I would tend to be. Yeah, nowhere near fast enough for that.
2 horses that I think are related, you can tell me definitely, but Sacred Angel and SALTA Angel, a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old, if I'm right.
Yeah, well, Sacred Angel has been retired now.
Okay.
So she was bought by Nerlan Bizikov, who owns Dash Dizzy.
Yeah.
And she was retired after her run at Lingfield at the back end of last year. I'm not actually sure which of his stallions she'll have been covered by, but yeah, she's obviously.
I've got them down as both being Dark Angel out of Sacred Aspect.
Yes, I think. Yeah, but I'm just not sure what stallions she'll have gone to this year now. Right. So Nerlan obviously had Charin last year.
Yeah.
He also stands Golden Horde, Mishrif. So she has joined his broodmare band. SALTA Angel is still here. Hasn't run yet. Was quite different to her sister in that she was quite backwards and needed a lot more time. So she's still unraced as a 3-year-old and has had a few setbacks, but hopefully we'll get to see her in the summer.
One I had for the Chester Cup as well, Cool Party. He's improved over the winter a good bit, but whether he'll transfer it to turf, I suppose.
Very frustratingly, he had an injury on the Tuesday night before Good Friday. He was due to run in the all-weather finals, and I think the way that race panned out would have really suited him, because I forget what it's called now, Hugo Palmer's horse that started favourite, that sort of flopped, and it was a very strongly run race. So yeah, would have been lovely to have him in that, but he had a setback and he won't be making the Chester Cup either.
Okay.
So we've outdoor school there, which helps. Well, we use for breaking yearlings in the winter, but as you can see right now, it also doubles as a playground for Mum, who has a few sports horses as well.
I did spot a few hurdles and fences on the way in as well. You're not thinking of going into it?
We did school a couple this winter. We had a jukebox jury filly called Attila the Honey, and obviously Jukebox, who we trained, has become, you know, one of the poster boys of jump racing stallions, and we thought if we could win a juvenile hurdle with her, we'll get a lot more money for her than we would, you know, just carrying on being a sort of mid-80s flat horse. But sod's law, she had a setback. So no, I don't. For all we've got the facilities for it, I don't think we've got any ambitions for switching codes anytime soon.
One 3-year-old I haven't mentioned, BURJ ZABEEL, hasn't run yet, but brilliantly bred.
Yeah, he's actually galloping next lot. He had a few setbacks last year, and we never really did anything too strong with him, so he's still a bit of a blank canvas. Yeah. But as you say, Kingman out of seventh heaven. Yeah, you don't get many better pedigrees than that. So no, it'll be interesting. He's another couple of gallops away from being ready to run. Yeah. But he's, touch wood, he's had a fairly uninterrupted spring, which wasn't the case last year. So hopefully we'll be able to kick on with him now this year. Yeah.
Is there anywhere you target with like them kind of types, or somewhere nice to start that gives them a somewhere you'd be targeting as that's a good introduction from either a course or a specific type of race?
I think we have a habit of probably introducing a lot of our nicer 2-year-olds at Haydock maybe. I like Haydock as a track for introducing young horses. I think a lot of it's almost more the preliminaries than the actual track themselves. You know, somewhere like Haydock, you can saddle in the stables easily. It's all very close and handy. Whereas you take a first-time out 2-year-old to Goodwood or York or Newmarket, you know, it's quite easy to have lost your race beforehand. So yeah, we've obviously got a bit of a bias towards the Scottish tracks. We'd probably introduce quite a few nice horses at Ayr as well. But yeah, I think it depends a bit on the individual, but particularly the sort of more difficult 2-year-old colts, then somewhere like Haydock would be an obvious place that we would, and because Haydock tends to have the first 7 furlong 2-year-old maiden of the year, that, you know, if we've any possible Chesham horses, that's generally where they end up.
Yeah. Have you got any this year?
I hope so. Yeah. This is that sort of exciting next few weeks where, you know, from the pedigrees we tend to buy, we don't have a lot of very sharp, early, progressive, precocious 2-year-olds. We just don't tend to buy those kind of pedigrees. So, you know, we've had a couple of runners now. They both ran fine without winning, but the sort of more 6 furlong, 7 furlong type horses. We're just starting to turn the screw with them now. You know, the first six furlong race at York is 3 weeks away. The first 7's about 5 weeks away. So yeah, we galloped 12 up the grass yesterday. So we're just trying to start to sort a bit of a hierarchy amongst them. But yeah, that's probably the of all the categories of 2-year-old races at Ascot, you know, the one we're likely to be strongest in on paper is something like a Chesham. So we'll hopefully unearth 1 or 2 for that between now and June.
And just when you mentioned Haydock, then I've seen your dad arrive by plane plenty of times there. Are you a pilot as well? Or
I'm
no?
not.
Got to go by the road.
No, or get in the back and go to sleep.
Yeah.
But no, to be fair, you've just missed him. Dad's,
he gone, yeah?
he flew out about half an hour ago to go to Sandown.
Okay, yeah.
Him and Joe. So no, he flies himself, and it's a game changer for us. You know, say Musselburgh last Saturday, for example. You know, we had 7 runners up there. It was a busy day. If we tried to do that by road, we'd probably have left after first lot, and we'd have got back at 9, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
By flying, we saw 3 lots here in the morning, worked anything we need to work, got up there, and we were still home for 7 o'clock. You know, then you can see what's happened at Even Stables, check the board for the next morning. So, you know, he's gone to Sandown today, and for those sort of London southern tracks, it makes a big difference to not just for yourself for the ease of getting there and back, but for, you know, to be able to be here much more and to be a bit, you know, more on top of things, and not having to miss so much sat in the car. So no, but I haven't quite got as far as learning to fly myself. Yeah. But no, it does make a big difference to us.
And how are you finding it now? You're completely in charge. You had a few years of it now. As I listened to an interview the other day where you said to start with, you hadn't crossed over completely properly, whereas now you feel like you are in charge, and people like us are coming to want to speak to you rather than to your dad.
Yeah, I guess we sort of tried to tell ourselves when we went through a year of the joint license and then to in my sole name, and the theory was that it would kind of be, you know, be seamless and nothing would change. And I guess we were maybe a little bit naive in thinking that nothing would change, because, as you say, that, you know, the responsibility sits a lot more on my shoulders now than it did, and you know, the performances on the track, you know, the buck stops with me now, and that's certainly something that you feel a slightly different kind of pressure that comes with it when you're, you know, for all it, I was always been involved here since I left uni, so for the last 10 years nearly now. There is a different sort of pressure when they're under your own name, but yeah, I think we've tried not to reinvent the wheel. You know, Dad had 5,000 winners. He didn't do too bad a job at it, so you know, we've kept a lot of the training methods the same, but at the same time, it's me that's doing the board every night now, not him. So I'm sure things will have changed slightly. But as I say, we've tried not to tear up what's worked before.
And you still kept banging the winners in. Still have, well, getting 100 every season. Is that a specific target that you set for the yard? That's the minimum kind of thing to get 100, and then from there?
Yeah, I think. Johnston Racing will have had 100 winners every year since 1994 now.
Okay, yeah.
So that's 31 years maybe.
Years, yeah.
I think that's right. So yeah, and that, you know, we had a period in the late 2010s where we had a hell of a lot of horses, and sort of 200 was becoming the norm. We've set ourselves a target this year of 150. For all last year, in most people's eyes, having 120 winners would be a decent season. For us, we set very high expectations of ourselves, and 120 was a below par score last year. So we're hoping to bounce back from that. And I say that we've just had we're in our indoor school here that we put in about 3 years ago. Gets a lot of use when we're breaking and riding away yearlings. Was a great help. Well, is a great help every winter, but particularly this winter. I'd say the first week in January we had about 10 inches of snow here. Couldn't get on the Gallop for nearly a fortnight. This is great in those conditions for keeping things on the move. It's a lovely part of the world to train, but we get thrown some elements through the winter, and wind, rain, snow. Having a facility like this to get the horses and the staff out of as much as you can is a big help. And then on the end of it, we have a big room up there, which for when we have big syndicate groups come in to see their horses, we can entertain them up there. And then going back to what we were just saying, we have a meeting every Friday with all the yard managers, vets and assistants, and we sort of go through any issues from this week and anything that we're looking ahead to the following week. So that's the sort of place where we'd say each yard manager has a target for number of winners for this year, and the target for the yard overall is 150. So I think 24 down, so that still feels like a fair way away. But no, we'll kick on after it as best we can. It's
a very smooth operation here as well, and it just. I was saying to Tom on the way up, like Aidan O'Brien has a similar sort of setup than what you guys are. Very operational, how everything's done in yard managers. But I even think your website and stuff like that must be the best one in racing from a trainer's point of view. That it's so factually updated with profiles on every horse and stuff. Is that a conscious thing that you've done, or something you've just sort of inherited from?
I think your dad that sums up Dad really, in that it would always be if you're going to do something, then do it well. Don't just do it for the sake of doing it. And you'd often see trainers' websites that are like 2 years out of date, and you think, well, at that point, what's the point in doing it? So very much if we're going to do something, we want to do it right and do it well. And when you get to this sort of size, you need to have the systems in place that things do run very smoothly. Dad sort of went to that system of yard managers, and then each of them having a team of people underneath them. So each yard manager at the moment would have sort of 35 to 40 horses and 10 staff beneath them. And that sort of structure makes things scalable. If you get another 30 horses, you get another yard manager and another team of people, and so you have to put these systems in place if you want to train these sort of numbers of horses. We would always sort of try and pride ourselves on with that. Things run, things should. When people come into work here at 6:15 in the morning, they know clearly and precisely what they're expected to do for the next 6 hours. It's all laid out for them there on the board, and as a result, things should run very smoothly through the morning. Francophone there, she will run in the Nottinghamshire Oaks on Tuesday. She won the height of fashion at Goodwood last year, and had a good season. Nice, another night. It's always great to have good fillies for Kirsten Rousing. Some of those families we've trained for 3 generations now. But no, we feel she's done very well over the winter. Say she'll she'll start at Nottingham next week and could possibly go on to something like the Middleton after that. You know, she ran once in Group 1 company last year over in Ireland and came up a bit short. Possibly the ground on the day was the softest ground she's encountered. But as I said, I think she's done very well from 3 to 4. So we've made the odd Group 1 entry again. So hopefully she might get back up to that level.
I noticed she's got like entries over 1 mile 2 or a mile, but recent runs have been over 1 mile 2. So
yeah, I think we're, you know, at the moment we would expect 1.25 miles to be her optimum trip. Yeah. I wouldn't. I was just looking yesterday. I think you know, there's quite a few trainers have mentioned the Dahlia as a comeback for quite a few good fillies. Last year's Guineas winner springs to mind, so that's probably put us off going there, but I wouldn't have been worried about coming back to 9 furlongs for something like that, and I wouldn't rule out that she could go up to 1.5 miles later in the year either.
Never realised you had one of these here as well. Brilliant.
So swimming pool, there's probably been about a dozen horses in there earlier this morning, and then this is the water walker, just probably changing over now between 3rd and 4th lot, so horses coming on and off. This is one of those things that, you know, we managed perfectly well without for 30 years, but now we have it, we think, how on earth did we manage without it? It's great for sort of keeping your horses with a few more miles on the clock, keeping them going. Horses that would generally pull out a bit stiff on a morning and have sort of low grades, fetlock or knee issues, they would come on here before going out to exercise, and you know, any tendon or ligament injuries come on here as well, and even a few big bolshy colts that need to get the back down. So it has plenty of uses, and there'd be 35 horses using this every morning. There's a treadmill over there behind that black board. We don't use that as much as some, but any horses with sore mouths, sore backs, temperament issues, we've got that facility there if we need it. There's another swimming pool at the yard down in the village, but just the one water walker. But I wouldn't rule out putting in a second one because it gets a lot of use.
Yeah. Which of the yards was the first one? Was it Kingsley House? And then the one over the road, and then this one?
Exactly, yeah. So Mum and Dad moved to Middleham, I think the winter 88 into 89. I wasn't even born at the time, and started off in Kingsley House. And I think when they first moved to Kingsley, it only had 28 boxes or something like that. They then spent a long time redeveloping that. Went to 1994, the year that Mr. Bailey's won the Guineas. Then the yard started to accelerate and grow, and they bought Warwick House over the road. And then, say, sort of in the early 2000s, we were outgrowing those two sites and had a few horses dotted around other places, and then eventually were able to buy this place, and have spent the last 20 years developing it and making it what it is today.
Lady Chartwell, famous owners more than anything else, with Alan Brazil and Glenn Hoddle and Aussie Ardealers involved. I think they've got 2, have they? With
they do. Backs. Yeah, Lady Chartwell and Optimatum, and we had a great evening at Chelmsford when she won, and then the wheels came off a bit at Newmarket last week at the Craven meeting, I would hope she just flopped in the ground there. Obviously, very, very different conditions to what she'd experienced at Chelmsford. So might actually go back to Chelmsford on, I think, the 8th of May to try and get back on track. But you know, Graham Smith-Burnell from Newsells, he heads that syndicate and puts it together. And yeah, he's very passionate and about getting people with a bit of an interest in racing like them to get involved. And I'm sure there are other people that have sort of got involved because of those names. Yeah, we haven't made my TalkSport debut just yet, but maybe if she wins again, then Alan will get me on. But no, they're a good fun group to train for, and hopefully we can have a bit more success for them. So this is the board, which to the untrained eye will look a fairly overwhelming jigsaw puzzle, but this is what we do every night. So sort of those are the horses in the village, those are the horses up here at Kingsley Park. The horses are in different colours depending on how old they are. The people are in different colours depending on what we work a 3-week rota. So that's first lot, second lot, third lot, fourth lot, all the different strings and what different exercises they're doing. Then ground-based staff in the yard, swimming pools, walkers, swimming pool, water walker, normal walkers. So just sort of going back to what I was saying earlier, you know, when you come in at 6:15, you know, this is what I'm doing for the next 6 hours. This is who I'm with in this string. That's what I'm riding. That's where it lives. You know, everything is there for someone. So as a result, then hopefully the next 6 hours of the morning runs as smoothly as it can. You know, you've got 160, 170 horses going out. So there's always going to be a few surprises and unexpected issues. But touch wood, it should run as smoothly as possible.
And if you've got that number of horses, you've got the same levels of staff as well? Or we'd be down a bit on numbers of horses compared to where we were at peak, probably pre-COVID. We went through a period of having a hell of a lot of horses. We'd be sort of down below the 200 mark now, but yeah, I know that still sounds like a lot, but it's a number that I would like to get back up again, because to compete with the top sort of 4 or 5 nowadays, you need 250 plus, and you need quality as well as quantity. So you know, that's you can't sit still for long in this game, because people will be soon overtaking you.